Hey, good evening, everybody. It is Monday, September 22nd, 2025. You know what's amazing? I sit here and I'm like getting myself all ready to and prepared for our live event. And I always have to clear my throat like seconds before I press the button to come on. And like literally seconds. And I try my best. Like now I'm going to be clearing it like crazy. Now, I can't say that it's not my own fault because I'm not an evening person. So on these nights that I'm doing not shows, but classes, I usually eat right before we go to class. And tonight I was eating a spicy pasta. Now, why am I doing that? It's ridiculous. I know that I'm going to need water. I know that I'm going to need to clear my throat, but I did it anyway. And I scoffed it down. I shouldn't even be eating this fast, but I'm woofing it down so that I don't appear as the teacher in the front of the class with food because that's disrespectful. But my God, did that do a job on my throat? And here I am trying to cover. So, welcome everybody. This is our Energy Mastery Mentorship class. It normally takes place on Monday, but because this month, September 2025, is a heavily traveled month for me, I have conferences this month. I ended up having to just do it in different days. Now, okay, it is Monday, so this one happened, but next Monday I will be traveling back to my studio. I'm headed next week. No, not in 2 days. I'm headed to Vegas for the Optimal Health Systems Conference. If any of you are going, I hope to see you there. Dr. Janine chimes in, the teacher in the front of the class with food. Yeah, that's me, Dr. Janine. And I realize that, Dr. Janine will actually be teaching at the Optimal Health Systems. Maybe I will bring her food literally right before she starts teaching. I got to find out what her weakness is. I think I know what it is, and I might find that and just bring it to her. But anyway, Optimal Health Systems Super Seminar is next week. So if any of you are coming to that, let me know. I will see you all there. All right. So for those of you who might be new to our classes, this is Energy. See, I should just change the name if I can't say it, right? Energy Mastery Mentorship. We talk about natural health with a focus on energy, scanner, uh, quantum wellness portal, IC glow pad, meditation, pendulums. That's the focus. But we really just go all over the place. That's just what we bring to the forefront of this. If I'm going to give any little talk prior to opening up the floor, it will be around energy. And that's a little different from the What Would Dr. Darryl Do classes, which takes energy, but there's more of a focus on nutrition, supplementation, and all of that. But then we bring energy into that. So it's really just one big smorgasbord. I just don't want to call them all the same class. Then I'll get bored. We're fresh off of the Solex Day of Discovery. And two things that I want to go over with you before we open the floor for questions. One is there's been a lot happening or a lot of discussions, especially in the Solex community, about the illuminator and using it on the eye. And then also this video, I've seen a few people talk about this video that Dr. Berg put out where he suggests that you close your eye. And then some of you are saying, well, Lauren suggests that you open your eye. So who's right, Lauren or Dr. Berg? Is Dr. Berg insane and Lauren's the Messiah? Or is Lauren out of his mind and Dr. Berg is the one here to save us all? I'm going to tackle that in just a moment. Also, one of the things that I realized that I want to hit hard on, especially for next year, is you personally, each one of you being the master of your own domain. And when you use biofeedback tools, which most of us who are in these classes use some sort of biofeedback, whether it's the AO scanner, the Zyto, pendulums, Quest, um, there are so many different out there. Whichever one you use, really is the energy that you bring to the scan that is everything. But I want to start off with the Illuminator and Dr. Berg. For those of you all who don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to frame this really, really quickly. The Illuminator is a red light therapy device that Solex puts out. Solex is a they have the AO scanner. So Solex is the company that owns and started the AO scanner, but they also have a whole line of products. And one of their products is called the Illuminator, and it's a 660 nanometer red light therapy device. They just released some cones for that. It was yours truly who talked about the cones last year, and it was yours truly again who introduced the cones to the world this year. And there is a specific technique that you might see either on the page, or you might have heard other people involved with Solex talk about. And that is for people who are dealing with eye issues. And what you're told to do is to take a spool from a paper towel, put it on your eye, and then take the illuminator and put it on the other end of the eye and shine that light through. Prior to the cones coming out, this particular technique would help to refocus the light, because without some sort of mechanism like that, the light would end up just scattering everywhere. And utilizing a cone focuses the light down the cone into one particular area. Now, the illuminator focuses the light into a beam that turns incoherent light into coherent light, and it's targeted. The other day when we did our class, I kept saying, if you're going to use the illuminator on the eye, do not use those cones, because it takes it into a small little beam instead of the scattered light from the illuminator. But at this, when you're doing it this way, the light is a little over maybe a foot away from your actual eye, and you are not beaming a beam of light down. You're beaming. You're not beaming a laser down. You're beaming light down, and and studies show that it really helps to heal a lot dealing with the eyes. And so you were told by Solex when you're utilizing this to keep your eyes open. Well, there's a video of Dr. Berg that's floating around. If you don't know Dr. Berg, he's one of the YouTube famous guys who really comes out with a lot of information. He talks about science. He takes tests and studies that have come out, and discusses them and gives you some idea. There was one particular part where he talked about a study of nanometers, 670 nanometers of light, and Dr. Berg says, keep your eye closed. What I think is missing from the discussion is the reason Dr. Berg said to keep your eye closed. All right. So I clipped out that one little part, and we're going to look at it. For those of you who are in the Solex Facebook group, I've already addressed this in one of the threads there. I just want to address this for the larger audience here. Let's take a listen to Dr. Berg, and I'll be right back.
On this, and you're actually exposing the retina to red light. So why does red light have anything to do with the retina? It helps to make the mitochondria more efficient and also correct some of the damage in that mitochondria. They found that you can optimize the mitochondria with this specific wavelength, 670. And what's really cool about the simplicity of this therapy is you're going to be doing this for 3 minutes only in the morning, once a week. Because apparently the effects last a whole week. But there are so many devices out there right now that you don't even know if they're really at the right frequency. You don't know how powerful they are. They're not really regulated that well. What can you do to safeguard that and still get the benefits? Well, the first thing is I'm going to recommend closing your eyes when you put this light into the eyes, okay? Keep your eyes closed, even though there's some references to say, oh, it's not going to hurt you. Keep the eyes closed. Infrared can penetrate through your eyelids very easily. I'm going to put some links down below of.
All right, so a couple of things. First, he talked about the 670 nanometers of light. That's what he talked about as far as the study goes. And the study specifically showed that when it comes to nanometers of light, the closer you can get to the right nanometer of light, the better the thing is going to work. One of the things that I did prior to, well, when I first started utilizing meridian therapy with lasers and acupuncture with lasers, I have, is my laser in here? I have a little pen laser. I've shown it to you a few times, and it's 635 nanometers of light, and that particular nanometer of light goes. It doesn't scatter at all. It actually is targeted, and it can go right into the meridian, right into the acupuncture point, and deep into the body through the meridian system. That particular nanometer of light works a little bit better than others for that specific one. So the closer you can get to 635 nanometers, the better. But it doesn't mean that the other spectrums of light aren't going to work well. It's just that studies show that the 635 nanometer works best. So the closer you can get to it, the better. So when you look at the illuminator, let's look at the page here on Solex for the illuminator, and it talks about this red light therapy. When you get to the wavelength, it is 660 nanometers of light. That's just shy of the 670 nanometers of light. So it's not the exact same nanometer as the study, but it's close. Now, what did Dr. Berg say? He talked about the study, he talked about the nanometer of light, and he said something that was overwhelmingly true in that when we're purchasing red light therapy devices from Amazon, when we're purchasing them from companies that we don't know what the true nanometer of light is. We know what's on the package, but very often when you test the nanometer of light from the cheaper devices, they come out just something different. And the average person wouldn't know because they see red. And if they see red, then that's all they're going to know. They know it's not blue. They know that it's not green, but they don't know if it's 660, 670, 710. Infrared spectrum of light starts at 700 and goes above 700. And when you're in the 700 range, you're in the infrared range, but you can still see it. So therefore, if you were to take a 710 nanometer light, you'd be in the infrared stage or phase of it, but you could still see the light. And you might think you're at, the package could say you're at 670. Now, why is that important? It's important because, as Dr. Berg said, when you are in the infrared area, infrared goes much deeper than the surface. And if you were to shine an infrared light directly into your eyeball, you could do some damage. The problem, or the reason that this is problematic, is because, exactly as he said, this is not a regulated industry. We don't know the true nanometers of light of most of the companies, which is the reason that, for those of you who are in my mentorship, I specifically have red light therapy devices or lasers that from places that I recommend, from places that I thoroughly trust, that have done the testing to show you the nanometer of light that's out there. So, from my perspective, what Dr. Berg was saying was there are ways to take precautions to make sure you don't get hurt. One of those ways is to close your eyes, specifically because you don't know whether or not you're getting the right nanometer. If you're getting the wrong nanometer and it says 660, 670, but it's 720, you could be in trouble. So, if you are dealing with Meridia Technology, which is the company that I recommend people buy the pen lasers from, or Solex, or I think there's only like one or two other companies that I really recommend. I trust their nanometer. I trust that these have been tested. I trust that they have the spectrum of light that it actually says. And so, with that being said, I'd have no issues at all with having my eye wide open with those lights, where a light that I got off of Amazon, I wouldn't necessarily want to put anywhere near my eye unless it was made by one of the companies that I did trust. And even then, you don't really know that it came from there. There's a lot of knockoffs that's happening. And because the potential for harm is so great, Dr. Berg's advice is very, very well. Again, Dr. Berg didn't say that 670 nanometers of light was dangerous to the eye. Hey, I'm coming in through I'm talking and I'm all of a sudden I just started coming in through my phone. I don't even understand how that's possible because I didn't click anything. It's the Jeremiah effect, but I'm going to talk about that a different time. Dr. Berg did not say that 670 nanometers of light was dangerous. What he said was, not knowing what this Wild West type of an environment is, one of the ways to protect yourself is to cover your eyes. And it's interesting because if you do cover your eyes and you are way off in the spectrum of light, you're probably wasting your time anyway. It's not like the light is probably going to do you much good. So when you are dealing with the eyes, very much like when you're dealing with food, supplementation, medication, it is imperative that you do your homework and know a lot of details about what you're putting next to your eye or in your eye, the same way that you might do homework with what you're putting in your body with supplementation, with medicine, and with food. And I say that jokingly, realizing that most of us absolutely never do any research with what we're putting in our mouths, but we should start. And we also should do research with what we're putting in our eyes. And we really should just stick to companies that we truly trust. And if you trust them and you're not in the infrared spectrum, you'll be fine from my perspective. So I just wanted to comment on that and talk specifically about that video from Dr. Berg and and give my 2 cents. I don't think Lauren is a nut. I think that his advice is solid with his device or with Solex's device. I think that this is a solid thing, but I would not play around with that technique with others. You might hear me very often, saying that, you might want to try this and try that and try other products. When it comes to light in the eyes, that's something that I wouldn't experiment with much. All right. Um, all right. Whoa, I went like 20 minutes before I am going to stop now and I will get back to my other thingy if nobody has questions. So let me open up our floor to questions. If you're new here, there's a couple of ways to get in there. You can go down to reactions and raise your hand. You can type your question if you'd like. And this can be a comment. It doesn't necessarily have to be a question. We can have a discussion if you like. But if what you type is going to be longer than like a sentence, I'd prefer you just come on because it's a lot to read and then try to understand nuance. But if you're going to type a question, type the letters QQ prior to your question. That'll help me isolate your question. All right. Let's see. Ronnie has a question. Go ahead, Ronnie, and unmute.
Hi, Dr. Darryl.
Hey.
This is more, hi. This is more not a question, but discussion slash comment about the laser you mentioned for the eyes, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because I have, you know, how you hear stories about don't use a red light in your eye,
Mm-hmm.
right? Don't have it looking straight into your eye. And you showed the research of the Dr. Bird talking about it. Interesting is that that when the specialist tells you, like they do laser surgery on your eyes, etc., you accept that, and then they tell you take these eye drops, and you go and check them out, and you go, well, these are all the side effects. You know, you'll get this, and this, but you take it,
Mm-hmm.
right? But then when it comes to red light therapy, like I realized I couldn't go and ask him the question,
Mm-hmm.
can I use red light in my eyes,
Mm-hmm.
right? So really, there is no one you can really ask, is this safe, etc. And so you're taking responsibility yourself.
Absolutely.
But it's really interesting. Specialist tells you, take these side drops. I resisted for about 1.5 years and he got frustrated with me. And then I ended up taking it. But what I'm just saying is we simply shows you all the things that can happen. You still take it. But then when you have to make a decision myself, you're like, I would love to use a red light therapy, use the eliminator in my eye. But
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't have any specialist to tell me that it's okay or not
Yeah.
okay. So
Yeah, and it's
comment.
interesting because you're right. When it comes to the side effects of medication, people will look those things up, but that rarely stops them from taking it. It's almost like they're torturing themselves with the information. They're looking it up and then they're still doing it. And you know, no disrespect to the doctors because listen, when you talk about red light therapy or light therapy and you talk about lasers, they all laser is light. Every laser spectrum of a laser beam is light, but all light isn't a laser beam. They don't know that. Like this is not something that's being taught in any sort of real coherent way. But what they know is whenever they use a laser, they're using it to make incisions. They're using it to actually cut into the eye. And that is, and they've got to be so careful that at this point they're using computers. And then they're holding your head in a specific way because one wrong move and somebody's blind. It just creates a really hard scenario for them. So it's hard for them to even wrap their brains around the fact that we're not talking about a laser beam when we're talking about light. And then they assume you don't understand any of this, so they don't even almost don't want to have the conversation with you. But they are really two different. Everything gets wrapped up in one context, and they're really light therapy and laser therapy. While I guess they're in the same category, they're kind of different still. But I get what you're saying. Yeah, red light therapy for the eye. No doctor is gonna have that conversation with you and allow it to be meaningful.
But even when you go for surgery like I did, they do get you to sign a paper which absolves them of all responsibility. Of
Well,
course, they're going to take the best care, and I'm grateful I have a great surgeon, but I still think that this whole thing of us taking responsibility for ourselves is still a bit new for all of us. I
for
feel
all of us,
that
yeah.
we still, yeah, we're still looking for the expert.
Yeah, yeah. And the reality is it is us who has to assess our own energy, assess our own needs. We know our own bodies. I mean, how many times do you go to a health professional and they're telling you, oh no, they run these tests and there's nothing wrong, and you know that there's something wrong. So again, it's not to put down the profession because if I need a doctor, I need a doctor. But the pedestal that we put these people on is it's a little outrageous. Yeah.
Mm,
Was that it, ma'am?
thank you.
All right, thank
Yes,
you.
that's
All
it.
right. All right. So let me go over here. I think that there was some typed questions. Let me look over here. See whether or not I can find some. All right. Dr. Janine looks like she was making fun of me. Elizabeth says that she'll be at the OHS seminar on Friday. Yes. Good to see you. I look forward to seeing you. All right. Kathy says, would that work with dry eye issues, shining in the eye? Kathy, I don't know technically whether or not it's going to work. I have no idea. Unfortunately, they don't test these things out in the way for. I mean, more studies would have to be done, and to be very honest, red light therapy is not something that's going to create a huge amount of money for doctors. So there's no real incentive to do that, but it's something to give it a try. Let's um, understand what red light therapy does. Red light therapy helps to fuel your mitochondria, which helps to heal everything that's going on in the body. That's the reason why shining red light on a wound or shining red light on your skin when you have some sort of issue, it's not that the light itself heals. What the light does is raise the energy of the cell so that the cell can do whatever it needs to do to heal, because the cell is trying to heal anyway. The cell is trying to take its responsibility and heal the body. And so shining light on that area gives the cell the fuel, the food, the energy, the nutrition that it needs in order to do whatever it needs to do. And very often, these things that it needs to do, we don't even know or understand. But it does, but it can't do it with the amount of fuel that it normally has. Dr. Janine, you're joining us today. How amazing is this?
Hello. I'm
Hey,
excited to be here today.
it's good to see you, ma'am.
I'm in Vegas, so it's only like 4:24 and I don't have any place I have to be, so it's
How much
great.
money have you lost thus far?
Oh, I don't know. I don't gamble, but
Oh,
I've
okay.
spent a lot of money.
But you have
Everything is
something, you got
I
something,
have
a
something
medium
to
of
show for
exchange for it. Yeah, exactly.
experiences, attractions, etc.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So while we're talking about red light therapy, I was thinking, I know you got excited about the AO glove because you were
Hmm.
saying that you can assess all of those meridian points that are on your hand.
Hmm.
And I was thinking that because the back is so big, the feet could be placed on the back, and then we use the glove to assess the meridian points on the hands and feet. And my question is, how long would you recommend doing that for?
That is interesting. That is a great question. So normally I'm recommending 20 seconds per point, but that goes out of the window because the 20 seconds have everything to do with a laser beam. And so the
Right.
difference between, I just want to explain this part really, really quickly. The difference between a beam of light and light therapy is a beam of light is going into the meridian. Light therapy is saturating the area around the meridian so that the light seeps into the meridian. It's a different technique. So I would probably recommend around a minimum of like 5 minutes or so.
Hmm.
And that in that way, you're absolutely saturating the meridian points with light, filling up the meridians, and then you've accomplished the same thing that you would with 20 seconds. But you know what's interesting? If you were to take one laser beam, like a thin laser, and you start doing it 20 to 30 seconds per meridian, it's going to take you 5 or 6 minutes to get around that body anyway, because
Hmm.
you got to stay in one point. So even with that, yeah, you're going to be able to get that done probably more comfortably, and you're going to know you covered them all with that. But anyway, that's the answer to your question.
And the right hand
About
and
five or
left
six
hand
minutes.
need to both be done. Is
They,
that right?
yeah, to evenly get through the entire body, yeah. Because what'll
Okay.
happen is you could put a whole lot of energy in one hand and then not enough in the other hand, and within 24 hours that will balance itself out, but it's not going to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish in that moment.
Okay. Because I'm thinking give the feet the whole time and then split the time between the hands. So that's what I'm gonna try that out.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's Dr. Janine, everybody. In case you don't know, I adore Dr. Janine. All right, let's get back over here to questions. I don't see any more typed questions. I mean, any more hands raised. So let's come back over here to typed questions. Sorry, Kathy. I wish I could give a more direct answer there. All right. Kathleen says, do you recommend lasers over terahertz wand over red light for healing? Do you have tips on when to use each? Each one of them has their benefits. So specifically, let's talk about each one. You have terahertz, red light, lasers. So red light and lasers, again, they kind of come into the same category because one saturates, the other one is a beam that works differently. Um, except unless the beam is infrared. Now we're getting into the nuance. So when would I use each? If I'm utilizing meridian therapy, where I'm using the laser as an acupuncture technique or an acupressure technique, where I'm specifically going around the meridian points, then I'm going to recommend, for the strongest effect, I'm going to recommend using a red laser in the 630 to 660 nanometer range. That's going to be my recommendation. If you're looking for skin, if you have something happening on the surface of the skin, the surface, you can use a laser that is a different color than red, like a green laser or a blue laser. These are great for skin issues. And then you're going to want to kind of like sweep the laser back and forth around the area that you want. But this is where the red light therapy devices that are like the illuminator or the pads or the panels, this is where they shine, because they can cover large areas at one time, allowing you to not have to take the laser beam back and forth. Terahertz is a completely different situation. It's a healing frequency, and usually it's going to be using air, usually, in order to push that frequency into the body. And if I'm looking to get deep into the organs, now this is a person that has all three. I don't want to make anybody think, oh, you need to go by this, you need to go by that. Let's assume you have all three for the purposes of this, because each one of them can work in other situations. I'm answering from the standpoint of what's optimal. So you got a terahertz wand. Most terahertz devices are either going to be wands, or like we have one in our office here that you put your feet on, and it brings terahertz energy back up into the body through the feet. But if you have a terahertz wand, now your terahertz wand might have some light on it. So it might have green, blue, red on it. But the primary driver of the wand is the terahertz air that's coming out. And if I was trying to get deep into the spine, if I was trying to get into the organs, if I was trying to get into the stomach lining and things like that, then I would take the terahertz wand, very much like I would take maybe an infrared laser and go over it. But if I had both, and I'm trying to get into the organs, into the spine, I would probably then use the terahertz one, and it wouldn't matter what the color was that was coming on top of it, because the color is really more of a light therapy, but it's not the primary goal or the primary focus. So that, Kathleen, is a shortened answer on when I would use each, assuming that the person had all three. If you don't have all three, there is a way to utilize all three, whichever one you do have, in pretty much all of those same situations. But I'm assuming that you have all three and you're asking when you'd use one. Hopefully, you're not asking that because you want to buy one and you're trying to figure out which one to get. Because if that's the case, I didn't help you at all. So sorry about that. All right, where are we at? All right, so Kathleen. All right, so Lynn says, my eye doctor used a red light procedure in an infection on my eyelid this summer. Cool. All right. I love the idea of using the back red light on the feet. For the glove, what if there's an injury on one hand only? Do I still use both hands? No. So it now we're talking about the reason that you would be using it. So what Dr. Janine was talking about, first of all, I don't know whether or not you know this about me, but I'm a meridian therapist. That's part of what I do. I deal with the meridian systems and help to balance them out in my practice. And so you have source points all over your body, and you have 6 of them on each hand. Right here, you've got your lung point. Right here, you've got your pericardium point. You've got your heart, yes, your heart point, small intestine point, triple energizer point. I said that wrong. Large intestine point, triple energizer point, small intestine point. That's what she was talking about. What I was saying was if you stick your hand in the glove, then you shine light on all of those points and you can help to balance out each one of those without having to do that individually. So that was the premise of the question. Now let me go, that was the premise of what Dr. Janine's question was. Now let me go back over to what you were saying. Oh, if you have an injury. So if you have an injury and you're using the glove, you're using it for a completely different purpose. You're using it to deal with the injury. So now you're either trying to heal the skin, you're trying to heal the bones, you're trying to heal the muscle. That's a completely different type of treatment or reason that you're doing it. And if that's your reasoning for doing it, then using the other hand will have no benefit for you. You know, that's one of the things that we really have to realize. Very often when someone talks about how they use a device, or I teach you how I use a device, I'm not teaching you the way that you should use the device. I'm teaching you how I use the device, and then I'm usually showing you the method or the reasons that I'm using it, so that you can then determine whether or not you want to use it for that method. It's not the only method. So if I'm dealing with the glove for somebody who has an injury, I'm only going to put it on the area of the injury because I'm using light for a completely different reason in that scenario. Elizabeth, please unmute.
Okay, hi again.
Hey, how are you, ma'am?
Yeah, great,
Good to
great,
see you.
great. Thank you. Looking forward to seeing you this week.
You're going to be
So
at Super
at
Seminar.
OHS, yeah.
Yes, yes.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, me too.
I can't wait. So I was going to ask this question from somebody at the seminar, but maybe if we can talk today. Got labs back from the deep dive thyroid panel for a client.
Mhm.
And there's clinically high on the thyroglobulin antibodies, and that's also the TPO is that functionally high. And I'm just wondering, it's borderline, but I'm just wondering, how do you address seeing these antibodies? What would be the best way to address this? The guy is pre-diabetic and he works in a shipyard where there's a lot of heavy metals. So a little
So
overweight.
what type of antibodies are you looking at?
It's the thyroglobulin. I can't say that. In the thyroid panel.
And so they specifically use the word antibodies?
Yeah, it's the thyroglobulin antibodies. Yes.
See, that's interesting to me. I don't
And
have
that
the I don't have the clear answer for you. If Dr. Janina's around, she can feel free to chime in if
And
she'd like.
then also the TPO were functionally high. So
Yeah, I did they when you did that, did they give you any suggestions? Or is it
well, not
just
really based with for the thyroglobulin. I can't say that word. Basically, they should work with a functional doctor, medicine doctor, is what they said. For the other one, basically to cleanse heavy metals and work with your diet. And the range that OHS gives is a real smaller, much smaller range than most of the lab panels out there. And so it's a little confusing. I don't want this guy to get scared, but the antibodies are there. And then the reverse T3 is also functionally high.
the reason I kept asking the question about the antibodies was because from everything that I've ever seen, when an antibody is there, it's never going to not be there. It's an antibody. What it's an antibody is showing you that you at one point dealt with something, and that's the
Mhm.
body's memory mechanism. Now, it could be a little different in this regard, but I've never heard it different from that in any other regard. I don't have the answer for that because there are so, from my perspective, there are so many variations of things that you have to
Mhm.
look at and other things that was happening and what's going on with him personally. You know, there are general protocols that are necessary in order to balance things out hormonally. But when you start looking at very specific things on a panel, you also need to look at all of the other things that things are tied to that have to do with
Mhm.
that. So in this setting, without really being able to take this person on and look at them, I don't know that I would be able to give you a specific on how I would deal with that specific thing personally. But the interesting thing is, if it is an OHS panel, I would think it would have come back with some specific recommendations supplement wise, and you're saying that it did not?
Well, on the deep dive panels, they do not give supplement recommendations,
Okay.
only on the Nutrients RX. But basically, it was saying that basically the antibodies are there. It's like a precursor, like a warning saying that Hashimoto's could be developing, is what
Yeah.
they say.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Unfortunately, that one's a bit out of my scope. I don't have the answer. I'm
okay,
sorry.
okay, all right. Have to ask around at the seminar.
Yeah, I
Thanks.
apologize, but there will be a lot of people there.
There'll be a lot of people there. Okay,
Yes. All
thanks.
right. You're
Bye
welcome.
bye.
Oh, so sorry to have to answer that like that. All right, let's head on over back to typed questions. All right, where are we at? All right, so the last one is Dr. Hill. Let me find that. Oh, Dr. Janine. Oh, she did. She responded here. Typically used to diagnose autoimmune thyroid, and I'm actually addressing it in my talk at Super Seminar. Well, look at that. Look at that, Elizabeth. Dr. Janine is addressing these things in her actual talk at Super Seminar. Okay, great. Well, unless I missed any, I don't think that I did. You all can let me know if I missed your question. If anyone else has anything that they'd like to add onto this, feel free to raise your hand or type inside of our chat there. I do, though, want to go over something that's really been on my mind a lot lately. And that is, and I talked about this at our team building in Utah last week. And that is, and I talked a little bit about it at actually at Day of Discovery. And that is each one of us, as we do our scans, and most of the people who are in this classroom have access to some sort of biofeedback device. And we're utilizing our biofeedback devices and we're looking at markers and we're looking at things that are not balanced and we're looking at trying to figure out what's happening in the body. Or sometimes we're not trying to figure out what's happening in the body, but we make things up in our own heads as we look at our scans. We need to understand that, again, as we always say, everything is energy. So what you're looking at are energetic imbalances, and hopefully you're looking at the energetic imbalances before they become physical imbalances. But the attitude that you bring, the frequency that you're in, the emotional state that you're in when you press whatever button starts a scan, especially if your scan has anything to do with quantum physics or quantum entanglement at all, and pretty much everything does to some degree. The mindset that you bring to that will help you to get the answer that you're looking for in that. Whatever you're focused on finding, the answers will normally appear in a way that you can understand them, in the way that you can perceive them. And so often, what we do is we pull up our reports and we immediately go to the area that we don't understand. We immediately go to the area that's unfamiliar to us. And when we get to that area, because, let me just say, like, I'll just use myself for a second in order to make this a larger point. Anything that I can do, anything, I find it difficult subconsciously to believe that everyone else doesn't do that thing equally as well as me. And so technology, that's just my thing. I love designing a set, as we say. Like this set that I'm on right now. I got the lights and I got the cameras. You can't see it, but I got a teleprompter where I can actually look directly so that when we talk, we can look eye to eye. Or, like a lot of people, when they're looking at the camera, they're looking at a camera, but the camera's above their computer. Well, that like those sorts that bothers me for the first year, and so I ended up buying the mechanisms that allowed me to look you in the eye as I talk to you. And that's just my thing. And setting something like this up is easy for me because that's where my brain goes. In my mind, everyone can do this. Everyone can have their lives in a technical way, or they can do all of these things with technology because it comes so easy to me. It's difficult for me to believe that it's even a problem for other people. And so I don't even necessarily think about helping other people with it because subconsciously I tell myself that everybody has this, everyone can do this. I'm not saying that in order to put myself on any pedestal. What I'm saying is that's what each of you do, and even me, when we're looking at reports and scans. There's some area of the scan that we really understand and we really relate to. And very often that's like the emotions, or for some of us, it's the vitals. For other people, it's the comprehensive. And because that comes so easy for us, we assume that the answer isn't there. We assume that the answer is in the more detailed part, and we assume that the detailed part is the part that doesn't come easy to us, whatever that happens to be. Because the person that loves inner voice and hates vitals, the deeper part is the vitals. That's the part that's difficult for them. So because it's difficult, we inherently think it's more valuable. And the person who loves inner voice, or excuse me, vitals, like the analysts of the group, and they don't really look at the emotional side, and they don't look at emotions at all, they might not ever look at the inner voice report at first because, normally that's not what comes natural to them. But if they're really trying to figure something out, they'll say, well, let me go look at the inner voice report because that one is so difficult for me to wrap my head around that must be where the answer is. Because that person thinks that the inner voice report is more difficult to read. It's just that that's not what they're inclined to. So my point is, whatever report that, if you're an AL scan person, whatever report that works best for you, the one that resonates best with you, the one you're inclined to, that is the most valuable report. And I can promise you that there are a bunch of people who can't resonate with that report at all. And very often, the very answer that you're looking for is in the report that you find least valuable because it comes so easy to you, because it comes so natural to you. So if there's a frequency change where that is the first place that you go when you run your scan or your client's scan or your family member scan, and then you scour over the area that comes most natural to you after focusing on the concept that you want to find the answer to what's happening in the body prior to running the scan. Quantum entanglement, the entanglement of energy, the idea that you're utilizing energy to find energy, has no choice but to give you what you're asking for and what you're expecting. So if I'm trying to figure out really deeply what's wrong with the person, and inner voice is my favorite thing, and I focus on that and I keep that in my mind as I'm running my inner voice report, and I love inner voice, then the answer is likely to come right in the report that I love, and I can really just ignore the reports that don't come natural to me. If we start doing this more and more and more, or when it comes to muscle testing or when it comes to pendulums, I remember when I worked inside of um, an office, a wellness center, and I would never pull out my pendulum there. You'll clear out a room in a place like that. I'll never pull out, I never would have. But at a certain point, when I decided, well, I'm going to utilize my pendulum more and more and more, because I don't ever feel, I don't ever even feel curious about the answers that I get out of my pendulum. I'm always so secure because I know which way it's going. I know when it changes. Other people are that way for utilizing the sway method. I met a woman last Sunday who used the sway method in the most precise way I'd ever seen in my life. The moment that she moved forward or backward, she had her answer that quickly. I'm used to people making it real dramatic where they're going forward and then going backwards and then like just almost saying to themselves, did I move? Did I go forward? She was so secure in her movement that she was able to blaze through muscle testing very, very quickly using the sway method. I know you all have seen me teach where I'm holding well, some of you have seen me teach where I'm holding up the pendulum and I'm showing you that it's moving in a circle or that it's moving back and forth. What I'm doing is I'm allowing the camera to capture it slowing down so that you can see that it stopped. I'm allowing the camera to capture it moving faster so you can see how fast it's going. But if I didn't have a camera on me, I wouldn't need to do that, because the immediate shift of energy, I can tell that, because once I realize that, then I can use my pendulum constantly because I'm very, very secure in the answers. Again, I'm all over the place here, but my goal is to not get you to use pendulums. My goal is to get you to use the pendulum if you like it, the sway method if you like it, the AO scanner if you like it, the Zyto if you like it, the Quest if you like it, whatever biofeedback device or method that you're using for assessment, use the one that's natural to you and use it with focus and direction, and then watch the answers come right in through the method that most resonates with you, and stop trying to go into the areas that don't resonate with you thinking you're missing something. What you're missing is usually right in front of your face. All right, so lecture is done. I promise I will not lecture you any more time today. I'm going to come back to you all if there's anything you would like to add, any questions, any comments, any additions to what's been shared thus far. Elizabeth and Dr. Janine were having a good conversation. Elizabeth wanted to know what day and what time Janine's talk was, and Dr. Janine said that her talk is on Thursday at 12:10, and the autoimmunity talk is Friday afternoon. So I think that Elizabeth gets there on Friday, so she'll miss the Thursday talk because the Thursday is a doctor's only talk. Um, but the Friday afternoon, she might be able to get in there. I think. I think she said she gets there on Thursday. Yeah, she does say that. All right, so let me get out. They're having a private conversation in the chat. I shouldn't be eavesdropping on that anyway. I apologize. Kathy, you are very, very welcome. What did I do, Kathy? What did I do to honor Kathy? Let me pull people who are going to watch this later. They don't know what I'm talking about. Kathy says, I just really appreciate you, Dr. D. I don't know what I did to honor, to deserve that particular honor, but hey, I accept it and I thank you. All right, do we have anything else that anyone would like to ask or add? We have 10 more minutes. And you know what that means. If no one has any more questions, we'll just have to dismiss early. All right. Janelle says being hey, listen, I appreciate all of you, honestly. All right. Deborah saves the day. Go ahead and unmute, Deborah.
Can
I don't know
you
if
hear me?
I
See
can.
me?
I can hear you.
Okay. I don't know if you can see me. I have my camera on. Oh, maybe not. Anyway, I'm still trying to figure out the DNA tunes. I'm not finding them. Nadia posted something and I asked her and she said you just go into homeopathics, but I don't have them on mine. So did you have to have, so she made a playlist that's heart, it says heart, comma, MI, DNA repair, DNA quinine, DNA cysteine, RNA thymine, DNA adrenine. I'm not finding any of these in the AO scan to make a DNA tunes playlist for
Yeah,
a
I don't.
Cephi.
Yeah, I don't know. That's
So
not
it's
one
like
of.
to be working on the DNA.
Yeah,
That's what
I
this
don't know what.
playlist is.
Yeah, I don't know where she was bringing that from. I would
I
need.
know, and I asked, and she said it was just out of the homeopathics, but I can't find it anywhere. So
Yeah,
then
I
I
mean, I
wondered
might be
if
able
it,
to find it. I just wouldn't be able to do it as we're sitting here. I don't know. I
yeah,
don't.
no, she also, put in and I asked her the question, and all I got was the same answer as what she had in the post, and I'm just not finding it. So I'm like, am I missing something that I didn't get upgraded? Were they up, are they still upgrading, like some of this into the computer, into our programs
And I
or
wonder whether or not there was a word before that. She didn't tell you what section. Oh, she said you said that she
yeah,
said they were in the homeopathic section.
yeah. She highlighted it and put them under highlighted quantum homeopathics. But even
Jessica is saying they are in AO tune. Josie is saying the
so
same thing. Let's
that
look.
she's not finding it or she
No,
is
she
finding
no,
it.
she says that they are for her in AO tune. I'm gonna look
So
now
where
that
do I go for that? I
well,
guess I'm not finding where
oh,
I'm
you don't even
going.
see AO tune? Well, so hang on, let me just
Hang-
log in and go there with you.
I'm sorry. I'm not, I'm just like I found like it shows you where like the minerals and the essential oils are all right up at the top. Like it has reach, frequency, affirmations, flowers, chakras, homeopathics, AO essential oils, and AO minerals. I wonder if it's that
Well,
homeopathic.
hang on a second. No, I don't think so. Hang on, because she said AO tunes. So I'm in the Cephi section now. Um,
Okay.
hang on. Actually, I think that you would have to be in build a playlist. So let me come back
And
out of
that's what
here.
I thought. Like,
Well, let me.
but it's, you don't go to AO Tunes, right? You do. You have to go and build your Cephi playlist. But then,
Yeah,
how do you find those to put them in there?
well, let me look myself. I don't know. Hang on a second, because I do know that.
Oh, I just found them,
Did you?
but I don't. Yeah, under DNA and RNA. So DNA quinine, however you say that word, DNA cysteine, RNA
Where did
thymine.
you find them though?
Well, I don't know. I just kind of clicked
So I
on
found them.
something.
I got them. I got them. I got them.
Okay.
So when you are in a Cephi playlist, at the very top it says AO tune, and if you scroll down, then you will see the DNA things.
Yeah, I see that right there. So now how do you get that into a
Well, I'm
playlist?
in my playlist right now. I'm in a playlist. So all I
Oh,
did was I went to the playlist and then I went to edit the playlist. And at the very top, there are different categories. You have
yeah.
AO tune, essential oils, inner voice. At the very top, you have AO tune. So I clicked on that and then it expands it. And then once you expand it, then you can scroll down and pick the DNA tune that you're looking for.
AO tune. Oh, yeah. And then it's in the binaural beats, planetary, and then you go down to the DNA and RNA.
Yep.
Yeah, but from Nadia's thing, that's not what she said.
Well,
So then I
listen,
asked her.
there we go. You can let her know.
Yeah.
Nadia, you
Yeah,
need
I'm
to
like,
be a
okay,
little
I
more
found it
clear.
now. I can make my
That's
playlist.
right.
Thank you. So then
Nadia,
I
let me tell you
also,
what Nadia was doing. Nadia was trying to save my class. She wanted to confuse you so that you could have a question that we could help you figure out right here in class.
I mean, maybe everybody else got what she was saying, and you guys all seem to know where it was,
Well,
but
I
I
didn't
had
know
no
where it
clue.
was. This is my first time seeing it, so you
Yeah,
helped to
I'm trying
educate
to,
me.
build a playlist. The AO, the essential oils, and the other ones were easy because they're they're like, you didn't have to go somewhere else and then go somewhere else to
Yeah,
find, the DNA answers. So then thanks for helping me figure that out. It was driving me
absolutely.
crazy.
Well, we helped
You know
each
how
other.
when you can't figure it out, it just like drives you crazy.
We helped
Um,
we helped each other.
Thank you. So I do have one more question.
Mhm.
Um, as far as thyroid goes, red light, you can use the red light. Can you use any of our red light through Solex on the thyroid to help healing, like with either cysts or like if you have Hashimoto's or something? Can you just use that right on there, and will that help that heal and get rid of some of those things?
Again, what red light therapy does is it helps to raise the mitochondria. So when we
Right.
start looking at will it do this or will it do that, it doesn't do any of these things. All it does is it focuses in energy in a particular area so your cells can take that energy and do things with it. And that's the
Okay.
reason why red light therapy becomes a great experiment so that we can just put it in a specific place and then find out what happens when you feed the mitochondria in a specific area. It's not a magic
Okay.
pill.
Right.
It's not really a real treatment. What it is it's allowing any particular area to have the best chance of healing because you've given it energy. That's what red light does. Now, green light and blue light, they do other things to the skin when it comes to soothing and nourishing and feeding the skin in a different way. But when you're talking red light, you're specifically feeding the mitochondria and then watching what happens.
So would you use green or red or green or blue light on the thyroid?
No. If I were trying to work with
No.
the thyroid, I'd be going with red. The only time I would use green or blue is if we were dealing with something on the skin that you were trying to deal with,
Okay. All right.
because
So I have a
it doesn't really go much further than that.
for Dr. Janine. At some point, would she be willing to maybe come on your platform and teach the same class that she's going to be teaching?
You know, I will definitely try to con her into doing that. She has been on our platform teaching before. So
Yeah.
I think that is a really, really good idea. That's one of the things that we really need to start doing more of, having guest teachers inside of this environment.
Well, I just know thyroid is really on the, things with the thyroid is really on the rise. And
Yeah,
a lot of people don't know anything about it other than taking, the medications that they want you to take. And I, for one, don't want to do that,
yeah.
but nobody else really has any answers other than taking, like iodine, which I already do. Then I already do some of the red light on it. But I would love to hear what she has to say about it.
I
So
would love
anyway,
that too. So
throwing that out there.
I'm gonna do my
So
best to make that happen.
all right.
All
I
right.
appreciate it. Thank
Thank
you
you so much.
for your help. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Let's go over here to Ronnie. Please unmute.
Okay. So I'm going back to what Deborah was asking about the AO tune,
Mhm.
AO tunes. So I don't think, I'm not sure whether it was you answered it this question, that when I go into AO tune, I can't scan it to find out which one comes up for me, whether I go into AO tune outside of it or trying to put it on my custom playlist.
Hang on. It's been a long time since I've been in AL2. Look here. Yeah, it's interesting. I can't either, but I swore. No, I don't have to swear. I know that it was there at one point. There was a way to scan on AL2, but it's not there now. It's
Yeah,
not
in
there
the
online
old
either.
version I can, but not in this new version.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, so it's the version wise. So let me go back and look at the old version. I wonder if that's just now a glitch that they gotta fix. Absolutely, you're right. So on the old version of AO Tunes, the scan is right
Yes.
there. You can actually do
Yeah.
it, but on the new version, and that's I would say that's probably one of the great things about leaving the other versions there for people who like them, so that
Yeah.
when they mess something up, we can still have that to go to and still do it until they fix it. I feel confident that they will have that resolved soon. But you're correct; it's not on the new version; it is on the old.
Okay, yeah. So that's why I thought I'd just ask you. But my question was, before I heard Deborah speaking, was about a dysregulated nervous system. And I noticed, like, Deborah reminded me when she talked about Nadia talking about a dysregulated nervous system, and all she said is, ask me, And I know that dysregulated nervous system, sometimes we don't know that it's dysregulated. And as she says, then you don't have as much energy going to digestion and all the other areas that you might need it, because it might decide that, well, it decides that a particular area of the brain, needs it more. And so if you're working with a dysregulated nervous system, in terms of the AO scan, I know it's probably a really wide question, but what would you start looking at to try and work with someone with a dysregulated nervous system?
I would, for me, it's just not that complicated. I think that a lot of times we put a lot of emphasis on things, and putting the emphasis on things is what makes it more prevalent. But when I'm dealing with something like that, I happen to have the wand. Well, I have a couple of wands, but I tend to wand both areas of the neck here, and then the actual top of the
Uh-huh.
head. And that tends to do the trick. If I did not have a wand, I would probably use um, a red light in those same areas, both sides of the neck, top of the head. And if I had a laser, I would utilize what they known as point zero. So it's the actual center of the ear. I would put a red
Mm-hmm.
light there. And basically you're just rebalancing. It's almost like in that particular moment, somebody who has who's switched or in some way. But you also can utilize the sound therapy. You can use, if you have access to the quantum wellness portal, you can use the resonance frequency. Very often their inner voice will do it. But again, when I'm working with people, I usually will do something like the wand or lasers on both sides of the neck and the top of the head. That's my quick
So if you
fix
were
to it all, and I don't give it any more energy than that.
Okay, so if you were doing it on the sides of the neck and the top of the head, roughly how long would you do it for? Do you just have a feel for how long to do it for?
If I'm using the wand, then I'm usually about a minute in each area. If I'm using a laser, or if I'm using a red light therapy that's actually touching the skin, about 30 seconds in each area.
Okay, it's interesting when you said you don't give it much thought, too much energy or thought. It's because it kept coming up like in my feed, or I kept reading about it, and suddenly I just, I thought, okay, I made it a big thing about the dysregulated nervous
Well,
system
a
because
lot of people do.
it
It's not. I'm not, and I'm not trying to minimize it to that degree.
yeah.
I just know that a lot of practitioners get so stuck in that they'll spend the entire visit trying to work on the dysregulation, and then after that, every time the client comes, that's what they're working on, because they called that into reality by the energy they gave to it.
Okay. And so would you then say that with the nervous system, it can go into dysregulation on and off, like it's not something you can expect it to be perfect, all the time. So there are points in our day that it could go off and correct itself.
Just like, yeah,
You-
exactly. Just like our scans, just like our 1s and 9s will turn into greens on the next scan. We just happened to be doing a scan when the 1s and 9s were 1s and 9s and the greens were greens. If we were to
Yeah.
do a scan in an hour, you'd have a completely different set of 1s and 9s and greens, because the body is in constantly a state in that particular state, and it's floating around. Our nervous system literally is nerves. We're talking about the nerves inside of our system. And what do nerves carry? They carry electrical current. They carry electricity all throughout the body. They carry it to the fascia tissue, and then the electricity goes through the fascia tissue and clamps onto another set of nerves and goes around. And so we could have just finished grounding, and that's going to give us one result. We could have just finished PEMF. That's going to give us a different result. So absolutely, the nervous system is going to go in and out of regulation probably all day long. Now, the more stress that we have, the more likely that is to happen. But I guess the simple and short answer is absolutely.
Okay. Thank you very much. That was really useful.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
All right. Let's head on over here and see whether or not there are any other questions. Let's see. All right, hang on. Comments. All right, Dr. Janine says she noticed that too. That does not scan in version 2, but it still does in version 1. Arlene says, can you please tell me where to begin with an enlarged thyroid? The first place that I would begin probably would be balancing out the hormonal system in general. And I would probably, at the very beginning, start with the supplement OptiThyroid. I'm really a straight to it type of a person if the thyroid is enlarged. Now, if the doctor is telling, if a doctor is saying that the enlarged thyroid is serious, then you've got to look at something else. But nutritionally, that's where I'm going to start. I'm going to start with a supplement that's specifically designed to feed the thyroid, and then see what the thyroid does when it has the energy to work with. All right. Jody says, where can we find handout sheets for In Practice Better for the handouts before day of discovery? Left mine in a friend's car. Are you talking about, Jody, are you talking about the function that I had last Thursday? If you are, then let me show you where to go. Hang on a second. I'm gonna open up the Practice Better app. I hope that it logs me in. With my luck, it always, just has me logged out. You're gonna go to Programs, and then you're going to go to 1.7 Quantum Homecoming with Dr. Darryl. It has its own section. You're gonna click on View. Inside of there, you have a couple of things. Let me just show this off. In the Quantum Homecoming module, you have, well, it says that it'll be uploaded soon, but it's actually there. It's uploaded. But hang on, I'm in the wrong one. All right, so here are the video recordings. And so all of the talks are here. You have your introduction and energy, understanding inner voice demonstration, question and answer part 1. I talk about vitals, comprehensive, and body systems. I talk at question and answer part 2. I talk about meridian therapy and balancing the body. I give an intro to muscle testing, question and answer part 3, and then my little pep talk about you are the real power. However, none of that was her question. This is just me showing off. So let's get back to our actual question. When we come back over here to Practice Better, the second module is called Class Downloads. And in those class downloads, you're going to have the source points, the ear chart, the AO scan, the new AO scan checklist, and the vitals, or excuse me, reference sheet and the vitals checklist. Now, there are some people who are new to this whole Dr. Darryl world, and my admin will be putting in that same module, the downloads, the charts. I made these charts that go through all of the inner voice, all of the inner voice notes, and then show you, because some people have never seen all of the notes. They don't know what emotions and body systems are tied to each one. So I have that particular thing there. And also I was asked to put the Excel spreadsheet there that we utilize in order to see whether or not the notes are balanced. And I'm going to be putting that in that same area. So in short, you're going to go to 1.7 and then you're going to go to class downloads. All right. All of the things that I gave you at the actual talk, they are in there. And actually, the things that I talked about at Day of Discovery, I gave you a QR code to download charts. Those same charts are in there. So you don't need to go to the QR code because it doesn't show you anything differently. All right. See whether or not there are anything else. All right. So that answers all of those questions. All right. I think that answers them all. We only went like 12 minutes over today. So that's good. I will be gone for most of this week. I'll be in Vegas. Now, I will be monitoring the group. I know that there's a bunch of questions that I got to get to inside of our group. And so I'm going to do my best to get those out of the way. So I'll be still monitoring that while I'm away, but give me some grace because I'll be gone until next week. And then we'll be back here and we'll do it all over again. Next Monday, I won't be here. But starting next month, I will we'll be back on our regular Mondays. Thank you, Lucy, for the safe travel blessing. I want you all to think about something, those of you who are in the class. I want you to, if you're in the Facebook group, I'm going to try to put it up tomorrow. I'm going to be a poll. I want to know what you want the first condition to be, meaning I'm going to be doing classes on specific conditions, and I want to know what you want the first one to be. All right. I'm thinking you're gonna vote, but right now, and you can, in fact, maybe I'll make a poll for people to pick things. I don't know how I'm gonna do this, but I think that what I want to do is I want to talk about ADD and ADHD. But I know that people have, I know that migraines are a big deal. I know that high blood pressure is a big deal. And so I'm going to start doing one condition class per month. And I want to know what my condition class for October should be. So when you all see that poll come up in the Facebook group, please go vote. All right. All right. For those of you who might be watching us on YouTube, listen, we are not going to have membership open for much longer. If you want to join us, in our membership, then feel free. It's open right now, drdarrylwellness.com/membership, or you can just go to drdarrylwellness.com and click on membership. In our membership, you have access to all of our classes. They come at no additional charge. We meet again at least 6 times per month. We meet for these live classes, but there's a host of classes that are there, including the AL Scanner Simplified course, the Pendulum Masterclass, the Auricular Therapy Masterclass, the Flower Essence Masterclass. All of those are there. A year's worth of archives of these particular classes. We have a bunch of different charts for conditions, so you'll know how to use your wand. You'll know how to use your illuminator on the body, on the ear. We've got sound therapy. If you have an IC glow pad, we got hundreds of infoceuticals in there for you to use. And we have a support forum. It is a blast. All right. Oh, leaky gut. Janelle, hey, you might be onto something right there. Leaky gut's a big one. All right, I'm all over the place. Good night, everybody, and I'll see you all soon.